Hello and happy holidays, everyone. I am Matt Williamson at Williamson NFL. How is everyone doing? Don't know if you'll be tuning in because of the holidays or as much as usual or maybe more because, short week. We got a little preview here of KC Steelers, of course. Let's start in the margins. That they got Butker back, so you have two really good kickers. I still give the Steelers a special teams advantage. I always do, but it's not massive in this one. Their special teams coach is a world-renowned, all-time great there, and that's something that the Chiefs are always pretty good at. They're also the least penalized team in the league. Their quarterback doesn't turn the ball over a whole lot, of course. He's very smart with the football, and they're a very, very, very well-coached team that happened to be a one-loss team that is back-to-back Super Bowl champions trying to be the first one ever to win 3 in a row. And they're in a really good position to get a bye week to make that easier. So, obviously, this is a difficult challenge. And their unbelievable record in one-score games and close games and things like that, you can say is luck. And yes, they've gotten some bounces, of course. You don't win 16 in a row without it. But they've also overcome some bad bounces, and they understand their formula that they're not going to blow people's doors off like when Kelsey was in his prime and they had Tyreek and they scored 30 to 40 every week. That's not who his team is at all. They are phenomenal on third down. So let's just even start there. When KC has the football, I don't know this for a fact, but it's definitely near the best ever in terms of a season a quarterback has had on third downs only. Mahomes is remarkable. When he runs on third downs, he gets it. When he throws on first downs, he gets it at a remarkably high rate. And that's who he's become. He's not the Texas Tech gunslinger Brett Favre wannabe at all. He's much closer to Brady now in terms of that type of thing with ridiculous physical traits and an unbelievable mind and competitiveness. And I'm sure his ankle is still an issue, but he moved around really well just a couple days ago. And maybe he's not as agile laterally, but he's able to run well and effective and smart. I don't think the Chiefs will run the ball particularly well. I mean, it'll be okay, but I don't think that all of a sudden, because Derrick Henry did, that the floodgates are open and the Steelers should be a lot healthier on defense minus Porter. So I think that's working to their favor, but I also think the cornerback situation is really precarious in this game. That Kelsey's going to demand attention, whether that's Minka or Elliott. I think Peyton Wilson could end up lined up on him quite a bit as well. Same with Noah Gray. But all of a sudden, this group of receivers is better than it's been since Rashee Rice got hurt. I mean, Xavier Worthy's gotten double-digit targets now 2 weeks in a row and is really starting to find himself, understand the NFL game. Hopkins is a quality contributor that's much different. And now you throw Marquise Brown in the mix. Like, Marquise Brown only ran 15 routes last week, but was targeted on way over half of them. So they were trying to get his feet wet for this game, for the playoffs, and got him acclimated quickly. So I think that's a huge advantage for the Chiefs, is their wide receivers against what I think is a really bad group of corners without Porter. So I would expect Mahomes to pick at that and pick at that and pick at that. Now, the ball comes out of his hands really quick, and he's gotten to be really good at, boom, get it out, get it out, get it out. But I still think the biggest advantage in this entire game is the Steelers' edge rushers at home, loud stadium, everyone watching, standalone game against a really poor group of offensive tackles. Even if they kicked Thuney, the left guard, out to left tackle where they were, then that exposes your left guard to Cam Hayward. I don't know if I would do that in this game. I might just trust Pat to deal with the edge pressure as opposed to putting a lesser player on Cam Hayward at left guard. And Thuney's really good. Their guards and centers, when right, are great, but their tackles are horrific. I mean, really, really bad. And I think that's just a terrible matchup for Kansas City and makes it a lot harder to, attack downfield to those wide receivers Although Mahomes, of course, can buy time and all that, but I do think he's slightly compromised from the ankle. He tends to drift back in the pocket and run around that way. And I don't know if that's the best move against Watt and Herbig and Highsmith, who's playing really well. So I think that there's a lot of interesting matchups for sure on that side of the ball. And I think the Steelers D is a very proud unit that can't be happy with how they've played the last 2 weeks. And I know they've been on the field a lot, but I think getting back a couple reinforcements goes a long way. And I think that they do a pretty decent job. And the Chiefs offense just isn't what it used to be, BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you with all the action and ability to watch the games as they happen. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football, NBA and college basketball, NHL, to UFC and MMA, head to BetOnline today and get on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline, the game starts here. Now, the other side of the ball. I am recording this on Christmas Eve, a little bit after noon. I've gotten no Chris Jones news, but he has done nothing to this point. I don't expect him to play. If he does, I think it'll be sparingly, third and longs, that type of thing. He's just too valuable to them. He's clearly the second most valuable Chief. If I were them, I would sit him here, maybe play him in week 18 and then have a bye or rest him all the way until the bye. Just too valuable. Your chances of beating the Steelers without him are still pretty strong. And, you need Buffalo to do crazy things to catch you and you got to lose. So who knows? I mean, maybe they don't see it this way and maybe by the time you listen to this, we'll know that answer. But I'm not expecting much from Chris Jones, who is awesome. I mean, he's a little inconsistent. His effort at times can be, so-so, on 1st and 10, things like that. But when he turns it on, he's a nightmare, and he'll be up and down that line of scrimmage if they use him. I love their defensive coordinator, Spagnuolo. But this is a really short week to prepare. Russell Wilson, with his time in that division, has a lot of experience against Spags and has done pretty well. The Broncos beat them last year. But his numbers against Spags in his career are pretty good. I mean, no one's are great, but they're pretty good. I don't see a real dynamic defensive line without Chris Jones. They don't really have edge bender types. They kind of just have pocket pushers, tough guys, which does cause problems for Wilson with his size and some of his, height limitations, physical limitations. But I also think getting Pickens back is just monstrous. And at this point, I think you can finally consolidate the workload to Austin and Pickens when you're in 2 receiver sets, Freiermuth in Washington, Harris and Warren, with more Warren than Harris. Running backs are not putting up numbers against this team at all. I mean, whether it's on the ground or through the air, they allow the fewest fantasy points to running backs as a whole. So I don't expect a huge game on the ground. But I do think Wilson should be able to manage what Spags throws at him, which is a lot. I mean, they are an aggressive, blitz-happy team. You'll see 8 guys at the line of scrimmage, not knowing who's coming, who's dropping. They'll play a lot of man. I think that they'll leave their corners on islands with some help, but I don't think Wilson will hesitate to go Pickens' direction. And Calvin Austin can handle man coverage now, too. I don't see a wonderful guy to take away Freiermuth. I can see Freiermuth getting back to being the 5-6 catch guy as opposed to what we saw last week. And frankly, I just think the Steelers need this one more. And I don't think being away from home on Christmas on a super short week is the most inspirational situation. And maybe I'm just kind of wishful thinking, Christmas miracle, blah, blah, blah. Steelers rebound. But I picked the Steelers to win this game 24-23. And I just think it's a really proud team with a coach that knows how to win in these situations. Standalone game at home almost always favors Tomlin. I'm not saying he's better than Reed. That's not what I'm saying at all. But he does have a really good history and track record at standalone home games in particular. So I'm taking the Steelers to win this one. Some of it's a bit of a leap of faith, I'll admit that, because it's not like I'm just listing all these advantages the Steelers have on paper or statistically or anything like that. But I kind of think that they're better than they've shown the last 2 weeks against two elite teams, in my opinion. And not the KC's a pushover, obviously. They're a one-loss team. But I think the Steelers somehow squeak this one out. And I got to be honest, a lot of that's just gut. It's just kind of being around the organization, thinking they're going to figure this one out and somehow get away with a win. All right, everyone. As I said, happy holidays. I will record something after the final whistle tomorrow, even though I have a house full of people here for Christmas. Great. All right, everyone. Take care. Over and out.